Okay, so let's take a look here on the second video with how I made space and how I made some of these planets. So again, the key thing is space itself. It's not the stage. It's a separate layer, right? It's on the bottom of my stack here, my layer stack, and on the bottom is going to be behind everything else on your timeline. So on the first frame, I simply grabbed a rectangle tool. I chose kind of a deep purple, and I dragged out space right here. Okay. As soon as I did that, I click on this space right here. I turned it into a symbol. Why did I do that? I turn it into a symbol because then I have control over it, and I'm not going to put other things onto my space layer that I want on other layers. So as soon as I drew that out, I went up here to modify. I said convert to symbol, and I made it a graphic symbol, and I called it space. The space symbol itself has two layers. I just wanted a little bit of highlights and depth. So the first layer here is simply the purple background, just flat color. And then I added a layer on top. I took my brush tool and I painted a couple layers, and on the brush tool, if I'm here, I went to the color effects and alpha. Alpha is transparency, and I made the lines pretty transparent just to give it, again, a little bit of highlights. In fact, I go back to my scene and it just kind of looks like space. All right, you can have fun with that. The stars are the only layer that is not a symbol. So I just went into my oval tool. I held shift down as I dragged, and I give you a perfect circle. I changed my color to like a really whitish yellow, and I just popped up a bunch of stars in the background. I locked it, and I'm done with my stars. So the planets, I had fun with planets, and this is where you can experiment with a couple different painting techniques. All right, so let me show you how to do a planet really quick here. So if I'm going to do a new planet, I'm going to new layer. I'm going to name it planet. I think I'm up to 6. Okay. Make sure I'm on the first frame, of that layer. I'm going to go down here to my oval tool. I'm going to color I want this thing to be. I don't really have any red planets, so red. Go up here. I hold shift. I'm going to drag out a circle. Okay, so that's my planet. Now, before I do anything, I don't want to screw this up, so I'm going to go up here to modify. I'm going to convert this to a symbol. Call planet 6. I'm also going to make sure it's a graphic symbol. I'm going to click OK. Oh, name's taken. So I'm up to 7 already. Planet 7. Okay. All right, so now it's a symbol. And if I double click the symbol, I enter that symbol space. And the reason that's important is now, as I modify this, I'm only modifying this symbol, not anything else on my stage, which I think you guys will find very helpful. So now I could zoom in on that planet. If I look, it seems like it's kind of a weird color. So if I go here, go to my color palette, so my alpha is set at 44, so I'm going to put my alpha at 100. And I'm going to fill this back up. Okay. Oh, hold on. Someone's coming in. Whoa. Okay, sorry I got interrupted. Okay, so a couple things you could do that we haven't really monkeyed around with too much. So if I select my planet and I go over here, I'm in properties. I have a couple things I could do. I have color effects for this shape here. I also have blend modes, but their blend modes only work is where they combine 2 layers. So if I had a layer above this, I could blend it. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. But also down here, I got filters. If I click plus, I could add multiple filters. If I wanted to give this a kind of orange glow, and I wanted to make it, well, if I blow this out, you can see I can make it glow kind of like a sun. I could also give it an inner glow. And if I inner glow, I can kind of drag this. It gives it a little bit of an inner glow, which I think is kind of cool. All right, so give that inner glow. So you can do that with any shape. Really gives you a good look. I could also, over here in my color palette, sorry, where is it? Looking, here it is. I'm going to colors, and I can turn this into a radial gradient. I can click, double click, and choose the two colors I want to, maybe kind of a orange is red. Okay, so that's a gradient, but then here's something we didn't work on. I can go up here, where is it, and to my gradient tool, which is underneath the free transform tool. Here's my gradient tool, and this gives you a chance to play around with the gradients. I can move the gradient around. I can make this a little bigger, smaller. I can shape this. So you can kind of monkey around with the gradient tool to give your planet kind of a cool look. Just come out of there. It's like, I like that. Okay. So now that I have a good gradient on here, let me show you a couple different painting effects you can do. If I go to my paint tool, got a nice little color. If I'm on the layer with the object, and I just want to paint inside the object, I can go here to my tools, click on my kind of options of paint mode, and I can click on paint inside. And what that allows me to do is I can, if I paint in the object, it's going to keep it just in the object, which I gotta tell you is really handy. Now those are a little too yellow for me, so what I would do in this situation is go to my brush. This is my transparency, my alpha channel. I'm gonna just dial it down a little bit. Paint inside, I want to just give it some stripes, and the effects are gonna differ based on the alpha. That's kind of nice. So that paint inside is super handy. You can use it for all kinds of things. Now, if I wanted to add another layer on top, change my color up a little bit. I want to make sure my alpha is 100%. You know, that doesn't work. I could paint on top. It's not going to paint inside because it's on a separate layer. But I can go in, add a little bit of this, and it looks kind of weird, right? But if I go to my properties and I go to blend modes, so I was showing you blend modes, I can take a look and see, and what this does is this is going to blend the two layers, the top layer into the second layer, and there's different effects based on the different blend modes. I could lighten, I could screen, I could do overlay, kind of like overlay. I could do hard light, add, subtract, invert, alpha, erase, the whole 9 yards. But I think I like darken a little bit. Just gives it a little texture. And my planet is done. If I go back to my scene, there's my planet. All right, and you can see the blend modes are a little different once you go back to your scene. So you might need to go back and forth a little bit and play around with your blend modes and your different effects. If I wanted to go back to my planet, I'm just make sure I'm on that layer. When I select it, you see this little blue bounding box, so I double click it, I go into the symbol, and I can edit to my heart's content, and I'm not going to mess anything else up. Please, that's the way you should do that. So what you need to do now, before you do a lot of other stuff, is set up the scene to your space, to your planets, to your stars, and then we'll work on the spaceship next.